She is the daughter of a legendary producer, director, Stanley Kramer. She is a founder of Kat Kramer's Films That Changed the World. An actress, a producer, a creator. She is stunningly beautiful. She is Katharine "Kat" Kramer. Hello.
Hi. Oh my gosh, that is so beautiful. Go back and keep saying the stunningly beautiful part. I take everything else out and just leave that.
Well, I mean, every time I run into people, you know, at events, because I see you at events a lot of the time, people say, oh my God, you know, they always like look at you like, wow, that's just like, you know, you just.
Oh gosh, thank you. Well, I hope it helps with my future.
Oh.
Yeah, there hasn't been any events hardly.
Oh, I know. Well, we got to keep safe.
I've only gone to a few things, and now it seems to be getting worse again.
I know. I know. Well, we gotta be safe until we can go out there again and swim in the world.
Well, they're trying to do events. I mean, there's been a few, but it's in some ways it's like it never stopped. I don't know. I mean, it did last year, but in the last few months they've been really getting back into it.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens.
So I want to know, do you like the name Katharine or Kat better?
It's interesting because Katharine is for Katharine Hepburn.
Yeah.
And she said, always be fascinating. I like that, but I'm more of a cat, you know, because I was Katie when I was growing up, but when I was little, and then I was Kate. A couple times I was Kathy, but none of those names fit me. And Katharine is such a regal queen's name. So I just go by Kat, mainly because nobody ever spells Katharine right. And I have the song Katharine with an A, which is a duet between me and my godmother, Auntie Kate, as her alter ego is. And so I do that. I'm still working it out, but that song is like a parody of Liza with a Z and designed to let people know that it's Katharine with an A, and they still don't spell it right. So that's why I go with Kat.
Since, you know,
so it works.
Right. Since that came out, the Katharine, when I say Katharine Hepburn, what comes to your mind?
Always be fascinating. Oh, good for you. Comes to my mind is that she's so much a part of me. Well, especially now. I mean, I just did her in my comedy routine, and she's in my one-person show. And I try and interject Auntie Kate, which is her alter ego, into everything I do. Kind of like Lily has Ernestine, but, you know, because I feel I can say whatever is Auntie Kate, which is, like I said, it's her alter ego. It isn't really her.
And when you say Auntie Kate, you mean it, and it's true.
I do, because she was my godmother and namesake, and I grew up with her basically. My dream is to play, or one of my dreams, the Katharine Hepburn Cultural Arts Center, which I'm the West Coast representative. I want to play the Kate, which is the theater there. They have two or three venues, but it's the large theater, or the one that seats 250. I want to be able to do my shows in there and be part of it. And yeah, so that's a goal.
Well, you have so many one-woman shows. I mean, I remember Mick Jagger.
I do that with Mick. Yes, I'm still working on that. And it may be evolving into a show called She's a Rainbow, or that would be a separate show. But, you know, that's a Stone song, She's a Rainbow. So it's a forever evolving Mick Jagger, Stones, Katharine Hepburn. Those are like the themes that are interwoven. And I'm working on another solo show called Crescent Drive. I don't want to give too much away, but let's just say it's very good for Halloween. And I've already done like a portion of it for Los Angeles Women's Theater Festival. I'm going to do it on their Halloween Wind Down Wednesdays, but I'm going to develop that into like a stand-up. It'll be part stand-up, part monologue, solo thing, whatever. So I'm adapting stand-up into my work, and I'll eventually put the singing in there. I've done stand-up before, but I've never really pursued it like just doing stand-up.
Now, why stand up now?
Well, I've always wanted to do it, and I've been part of a comedy duo, and I also got the Entertainer of the Year from the LA Comedy Awards, and I have used stand-up in different things I've done, and I've given awards and performed at the Comedy Store. And but I decided, because of the state of the world and the way things are, it is a mad, 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 mad world, that the way to say some of these things is through comedy. So even though I think I'm better suited for sketch comedy or musical comedy or even sitcoms, I am going in the direction, I wouldn't call it just like straight stand-up, but it's a stand-up comedy clubs.
Yeah.
So in that sense, I just feel that so many people are out there talking about their personal life, but we really need someone who, and hopefully it'll be me, talks more about the state of the world and, you know, makes fun in a way, or finds the comedy in these, you know, horrendous global situations, and also the whole space thing that's going on and going out into space. And
And
so
especially now, we need that laughter. We've got to find the laughter and everything.
yeah, well,
Yeah.
Lily Tomlin, as you know, my idol, performing idol, was always, you know, her comedy was clean in the sense that she never, not only did she not, you know, pick on people, but she was never really super dirty and bathroom humor and all that. She was very much about a socially conscious subject. So in that sense, I'm following in that footstep of, just because my father was that, it's in my DNA. So, you know, her kind of comedy is my kind of comedy, but I want to be totally original. You know, also George Carlin used to talk about, you know, topical global things, and you know, he wasn't talking about parts of the body. I'm not saying I don't. A little bit of that is in there because people need to relate. But I'm so sick of comics just spending a whole night talking about, you know, their anatomy or whatever. And I think it needs to be, I know it needs to be more about what's happening in the world. So that's why I'm going in that direction. And I just decided that, you know, I want to say a lot of things and it takes too long to say it in these other ways. So I'm going to say it through comedy.
Right. Well,
And it's something I've always wanted to do.
you are so busy. I mean, you're constantly busy. I see you it's like when we used to be able to go out, I would see you at one event, I'd turn around and you were at another event. It's like, oh my God, how, you know, you're busy creating, acting, and producing and writing. How do you center yourself?
Well, that's a good question, because I don't know exactly. I don't think I do. I mean, like right now, even during and we're still in the pandemic, by the way. So when I say now, I'm still talking like you think it's the tail end of it, but now we have this new variant and all this stuff that's going on. And so I feel like we're still in it. But all last year during the pandemic, the actual original one, I had all these projects I was working on as a producer. I'm acting in a lot of them, but basically I'm producing and these projects with different teams, different writers. And I decided to just work on all of them since we had all this time on our hands. And I got focused on like 10 different projects. Not all of them have stayed. Some of them have I kind of put on the back burner, but for the most part, there's like 7 to 10 pretty heavy duty projects I'm trying to do, and my show and stand up and singing and my screening series all at the same time.
Right now, I mean, what spurred you, what sparked you to create Kat Kramer's Films That Changed the World?
Well, I feel in a way it's a good question, because I've always felt it created itself. How it started was, we have the Stanley Kramer Theater, which is a screening room that was established on the lot at Sunset Gower Studios. And that's my favorite place in the world. That was also formerly Columbia Pictures, where my father made Guess Who's Coming to Dinner and Kane Mutiny and many of his classics, but other people like Barbara Streisand made Funny Girl there. You know, Columbia Pictures has a lot of things that I'm interested in beyond just my father's. So it made perfect sense for me to start programming. Like I wanted a screening series. I didn't want to have to do like several films in a row. I wanted like once or twice a year, but I wanted to start with something that was small. So I started with Yentl, during Women's History Month, and I only had 91 instead of 90. There was less than 100 people there, but it was 91 seats in the theater at that time.
Yeah.
And I had all women. I maybe had a couple of men because Alan Bergman was one of them, with Marilyn Bergman. But I chose Yentl because also, you know, Barbara had made Funny Girl there. My father, that was his home base. And it was also a strong father-daughter theme, but it had the whole Women's History Month, women's equality. She was also the first woman to write, direct, star, produce, you know, do the music. She basically to do the whole thing in a film. And also the women's equality was in there, that whole theme of, you know, feminism basically. And so I decided to make that the first film. But before that, we had tested it out with the screening of Glyn Turman, who's a friend of mine, the actor Glyn Turman. He was in something called In Treatment, the original HBO series, and he won Best Guest Star in a series, the Emmy. And so we did like a to promote him in that, because he became like a part of my team in a sense. We screened In Treatment there for industry people, and that's when I decided, that was before Yentl, I decided let's just go for this. And then Glyn Turman actually became part of my host committee. But long story short, Yentl was the first one. We were just trying it out. And I even flew in women from the Congo because I decided to not only focus on the women's equality aspect in terms of women in film, but I wanted to bring in women from that were dealing with equality problems and discrimination from war zones, and make it like a whole, you know, Enough Project, and Raise Hope for Congo, and really, you know, on the hard-hitting issues of the day, to show that we haven't really gone that far or come that far from where Yentl was. So
Right.
it started there, and then The Cove was the next one I did, which was about, you know, the slaughter of the dolphins in Tahiti, and that was before it won the Academy Award. And I decided I wanted each film to be a different issue, and there could be like, they could be hundreds of documentaries, primarily documentaries. Yentl was not. So
Mhm.
every now and then I don't have a documentary, but for the most part, it's films, but it's mostly documentaries. And The Cove was the next one, and it literally went through the roof. And originally my series was called Kat Kramer's Films That Changed the World, which was past tense.
Yeah.
But I decided, no, I want to show new movies. I'll once in a while I'll revisit an older film, but I really want to show new movies that either just came out that have not gotten the attention or need that extra push for award season.
Well, I like the change as well.
Change. Yeah, so
I like
change
the
now.
change because even though a film is older, it still changes the world because
Right, and change instead of changed. So you just take the D off and makes it current.
right.
And then Lily came on board as my main ambassador with Elephants and Men, A Litany of Tragedy, which was following in the Cove the wildlife conservation and animal rights.
Right.
And then we had the anti-bullying, LGBTQ bullying and school violence with Teach Your Children Well, which I did twice for the series. And then Fallout, which was about the making of On the Beach and nuclear issues, that was the 5th anniversary. Then I had a film about Heinrich Himmler, which was really controversial, called The Decent One, for the 6th. For the 7th, I had Martin Sheen and Misha Barton and for Bhopal, A Prayer for Rain, which was about this environmental disaster that happened. So that was another environmental film.
Yeah.
And that same year, I gave Marcia Hunt the Hunt for Humanity Award. Marcia is 103. She'll be 104 in November, if you can believe it. Was the first real activist in our business who, you know, used her voice for social issues. And she was blacklisted. She was one of the Hollywood 10, but she really doesn't want to focus on that.
Right.
So, I mean, it's part of her, but it's not why she was getting this award. So I call it also the Hunt for Humanity Award, named after her, but also because my father, Stanley Kramer, once was quoted as saying, I'm always hunting for the next truth. And it was like hunting for social issues, which is what the screening series does. So that award is established with the series. It will be going to a deserving recipient for, I'm in my 12th year, but I'm actually still celebrating the 10th
Yeah.
anniversary. So after after Bhopal, A Prayer for Rain, I had Grandma, Lily Tomlin, and
Oh,
we
I
had the
love that
whole
film.
caption. I did an open caption screening of it first time on a studio lot and had ASL interpreters.
Well, that's another question that I have about that. You do so much of your work comes from the heart and comes from um, things that change the world. And
It's the whole theme, yeah.
and then you moved into and got involved with the deaf and hard of hearing community. How did that happen? How did that come
Well,
about?
it's the same thing, David, is like the comedy is global. This is also, I'm trying to expand global reach. Well, I played Helen Keller. That was one of the roles I played as a child actress. And of course, she was deaf, blind, and mute. So from then on, I've always been, championing and advocating for disabilities, people with disabilities. But I specifically got interested in the deaf because of that, and also because Lily Tomlin, who's the ambassador for the series, had used sign language. She was played the mother of two deaf children in Nashville, and then she signed on Sesame Street, and then Jane Fonda, who's also been a host, used sign language in her acceptance speech for Coming Home. And I think it was also because not that the disabilities community weren't active in the arts, but for some reason Deaf West and the deaf community and the deaf experience was getting much more visibility. And you even see that now, like with Sound of Metal and Coda, the upcoming film.
Right.
So I think it's not that I just chose the deaf issues as the main disability to push, because they're all important, but those artists within the deaf community their language was getting out there so much, it was becoming so much part of the mainstream, especially when Spring Awakening was on Broadway. And Marlee Matlin is such a great leader, but she's not the only actor out there that's deaf. I mean, Troy Kotsur and Antoinette, there's so many. And that's why in Turnover, when I first got cast in that role, and then they brought me on as a co-producer,
Right.
Linda, the director, came to me and said, we already have Down syndrome characters in here, but you work with the deaf community, and it's really the deaf community was breaking through at that point. She said, shall we turn Julie, the character of Julie, who was hearing in the original script,
Right.
shall we make her deaf? And I said, yes, but you have to cast a deaf actress. You can't just, no more can you have a hearing actress playing deaf. You have to actually cast, to be authentic, you have to cast a deaf actress. So I was also in on those auditions, and wearing my co-producer hat, I was able to pick Raquel McPeak for that role. But I mean, there was a moment where everybody was saying, well, why can't we use the actress we already have? And I said, no, you can't. It has to be authentic. And I keep that with everything on all the projects I'm developing, David. They all have to be captioned. There has to be, that version. I also audio visual for the blind. It's so important that they also be included. So
this just seems to run through your veins, helping others and using your status to do this. I mean, again, you mentioned Turnover, and I want to get to it because you got, I mean, it's now streaming on Amazon Prime and
other platforms, but that for me, that's the biggie. That there's many different ways people can see it if they're not on Amazon Prime.
And you got, it's an award-winning moment for you. I mean, you got Best Actress, right?
Yeah, Best Supporting Actress, which was great. Well, first of all, I'm the only actor from the film to have gotten a competitive award. In fact, the movies won like 10 awards, that included, but a lot of people from the movie were nominated at the Love International Film Festival, and I was stoked that I did win Best Supporting Actress. And I think I'm the only actress from the United States that won anything, because it was basically it's called Love International. It's very international, and there was hardly anybody from the States. So that in its sense, in itself made it important, and it is an important award. So I'm really happy to have gotten it. But the movies also won, and it's reached a lot of hearts and minds with, first of all, you have the whole diversity element in there. You have the whole, love and acceptance. And then you also have the whole food industry and the restaurants and how
Right.
that plays. And I think it would make a great series. I'm trying to push, the powers that be into really getting this out there as a web series or a series.
Well,
And
you
that
know
was
what
the
I
goal.
loved? One of the things, because of course I was on the set with Blair Williamson, who was one of the stars
yeah.
of it. And
One of
one of the
the
things, what?
also was one of the executive producers on it.
Right. And one of the
Yeah.
things that I loved was, there was one or two scenes where I was sitting as an extra in there, just because I just love the feeling of being on the set and the surrounding, especially with so many people that you know. But one of the things I remember is watching your scene being filmed, and your focus is like,
okay. So, you don't want to talk over it? Burrito?
This is not exactly the kind of thing.
and you're in the character, and then you just walk in, and you could feel the energy from that. I thought that was one of your best roles. I mean, yeah. So it's exciting to watch you work.
Oh, thank you. I have like a little secret when I did Fran, that was the character, which I'll never tell anyone. It's a little acting secret. But when I first read her, she was very, she could be very one-dimensional, and she could be perceived as a narcissist. And I'm not saying she wasn't selfish, but from her standpoint, she's having to raise her son, and Peter isn't really focused, and his health is bad, and she wants the best for her son, and she wants that success. And Peter was really, sleeping on the job, so to speak. So from her standpoint, she's a single mother getting, divorcing him, going to end up with somebody else, but he wasn't living up to what she wanted him to.
Yeah.
But he also was like the female villainess in the piece. But I tried to make her, imbue her with, humanity, so that she wouldn't be one-dimensional.
Well, and that's why you won.
I would like to reprise the role on the series. I think that, there hasn't been a series about a restaurant in a long time. And plus you have the whole thing about the diversity and the Down syndrome and the deaf, and hiring Down syndrome staff in a restaurant has never really been portrayed in the series. And then you have the whole diversity and, the ageism with the older characters. I mean, there's so much in there that could be that people could relate to now that Superstore's off the air.
Well, you know what was so great? I mean, I'm hearing the diversity and the Down syndrome and all that. And as you know, I mean, you and your mom, thank you for, I don't know how many years ago it was, you came to Meet the Biz when we were back at Joey Travolta's Inclusion Films. And of course, Meet the Biz has gone different places, and now it has its beautiful home over the last 7 years at Performing Arts Studio West. And the students are watching today. We have Performing Arts Studio West students. We have the Meet the Biz students.
Great.
We have all the YouTube land.
Both, that you've combined it. See, it's really gone so far, where before actors with disabilities and performers with disabilities were there, but they weren't really being recognized. And now it is so, the floodgates have opened, and it is a lot to do with, like I said before, with the deaf community, because they went so mainstream, and the talent is able to shine through, and films that actually have deaf characters in there and deaf actors playing them. I think that's really helped.
Yeah.
And there was that short film from this year too, with the deaf and blind actors.
Yes.
True, yeah, that Marley was involved with.
That was an amazing film.
Yeah,
I want to go.
The turnover is so. What I'm saying is that when you have if you make a series out of it, and believe me, it's in the works. I mean, it's something that they're working on it, and I would
Really?
love, like I said, play Fran in that.
That would be
and
great.
have as many of the original actors back, maybe not all of them, but there's so much you can do with the different characters that come into the restaurant or that are employed at the restaurant, different life lessons that could be pursued, and also the whole, fair wage, one fair wage, and all the things that are happening with the equality in the restaurant system. There's so much you can do, that I just say that, that's the series to really push for.
Make all the jokes you want, but your new lease here, it's not gonna last at this rate.
not gonna be around forever.
Oh my God, it's so hardcore.
The doc thinks that I should take some time off, maybe even a couple of weeks.
I'll find us some new hires in the next couple of days. I'll take care of it.
Peter didn't tell you?
Tell me what?
I'm your new boss.
Have you ever managed people?
No, sir.
Can you start tomorrow?
Here? You don't like fire people because I like doing.
Can you lift a lot of dishes?
I can pick up Gina. She is heavy, like a bowling ball. You've gone a little bit and too very far this time. Namaste.
You're going to love your new crew.
Well, that's great. I can't wait to meet them. This is like some kind of joke, right? Some YouTube joke, right? Right? I know I've been weird and a little uptight, but I've been thinking, and if you're willing, I could use your help. All of you.
Even after goodbye, and even though I miss you.
He doesn't even know I exist.
That's why you gotta go back there and put the goods right out in front of him.
I was a fool, I knew.
I mean, was that your plan, Henry? To sabotage us with a few existentialists and misfits because you couldn't have it your way?
Life gets rough, and things really matter. That is when we come together, not just as a little local restaurant, but as a community and a family.
Thank you.
Seize the day for tomorrow. You could... you could possibly die.